Hey guys, welcome to my patio. Today we're going to be potting up a mini cactus garden, and we're going to be potting the Arizona Rainbow Cactus, the Echinocereus Rigidissimus Rubispinus. They get their name Rubispinus because they have these awesome spines that turn kind of this magenta, ruby, pinks, peaches, kind of reminiscent of a sunset, and they're really, really neat. They're very expressive with their spines. Even from one group of seeds, each one can turn out completely different. So they're just really unique cactus. So that's what we're going to be potting up today. I'll explain more about them as we go though. So let's go ahead and get started right now. So for our cactus dish today, we're going to be using a terracotta bowl. Terracotta is awesome for cactus because it allows for airflow. You want that aeration, that porous terracotta is going to allow for that aeration to help dry out the soil. This pot has kind of a large drainage hole there, so I like to use either a coffee filter or a piece of screen. This is just a roll of window screen that I have. So just cut out a piece of that screen, place it over your drainage hole, and that just helps keep the soil from escaping through that drainage hole. Now we're gonna go mix up our soil, so come with me. Okay, welcome to my soil mixing station here. I've got my soil mixing tub, just a little Sterilite container from Walmart. If you like to keep your nails nice, I highly recommend wearing gloves for this because the pumice we're going to be mixing in here is pretty rough on your nails. It really scuffs them up quite a bit. So throw on those gloves if you've got them. So over here is my soil mixing station. I have all of my 5-gallon buckets with, like this one has decomposed granite. I've got the fine pumice, top dressings, large size pumice, another top dressing down here. I like to keep 5-gallon buckets because you can go to landscape material companies and get, any color of top dressing you want, rock chips, pumice. I get all of that from local landscape companies here in Tucson. And it's super inexpensive to just take your own 5-gallon bucket. They allow you to go into the yard and fill it for like a couple bucks. So, well, pumice costs a little bit more, but yeah, any of the rock chips, top dressings in all the different colors are usually right around a couple bucks to fill your own bucket. The main ingredient we're going to be using in our soil today is fine pumice, and usually pumice is sold in 2 different sizes, a larger size, and then this is the smaller size. So this is about 0 to 5 to 6 millimeters in size. So this small size pumice is excellent for if you're using it as the main ingredient in your soil. The larger size pumice is what they use to break up heavier potting soils to make it aerated. So they kind of like, they have 2 different uses. I kind of want to show you the sizes side by side just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So let me grab the larger size. All right, here's the 2 sizes of pumice, large size, small size. We're just going to be using the small size today, but I just wanted to give you a comparison there. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first up is pumice, and I just use my hands as my measuring cup, or you could use an actual, container if you want to scoop it out. We're going to be using 2 parts pumice to 1 part decomposed granite. Okay, so that was 4 handfuls. Now we're going to do 2 handfuls of decomposed granite. And the decomposed granite is basically just a rocky, kind of sandy substrate. All right, we've got 2 parts of our fine pumice to 1 part decomposed granite, and just for good measure, I'm going to add in a couple of small handfuls of the actual sandy substrate that they grow in out in the wild. I collected some of their sand and rocks, sandstone rocks that they grow in specifically for this project today, and I wanted to just make them feel at home, so we're just going to add some of that in there. So let's see if we can get it close up there. So it's just a very sandy mixture that they grow in. So you might think that this would be quite heavy, but out in nature there's just a little bit of this that gets caught between the crevices of rocks. Usually just a small amount of this, but it's very rocky where they're growing, so they don't get a lot of heaviness from the sand. So we're not going to add too much of this. We mostly want it to be more leaning on the rocky side. We don't want to hold too much moisture in there. So our cactus mix is going to be 100% mineral based, and by that I mean we're not going to be using any organic matter in here whatsoever. There's not going to be any peat moss, cocoa peat, cocoa coir, bark chips, compost, worm castings. There's not going to be any rich organic matter in here. It's just going to be minerals, 100% minerals. So the pumice, the decomposed granite, and that little smattering of sand from their natural habitat. So this would be considered a gritty mix, also known as a soilless soil. One test that you want to do before you get started potting up your plant, especially when you're testing out a new soil, would be to take a handful of whatever, custom mix that you've made and go run it under running water, and then give it a good squeeze. Open your hand and see if it holds the form or if it breaks apart. So let's actually do that right now so you can see what I mean, and we'll check our soil content. Okay, I just ran this under my outdoor faucet. Now give it a good squeeze and open your hand. Okay, look how that broke apart. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Really chunky. We don't want anything holding its shape. If you do that test and you find that when you open your hand up, it did actually retain its shape too much when it was wet, then go ahead and add more of your aeration part. So for us, that would be our pumice. And your moisture retaining part you would want less of, so that would be your, for us that would be our sandy bits. Okay, I just decided to add a little bit of volcanic ash to our soil. This is elmite, and it just contains vital nutrients like calcium, iron. So basically it's just the equivalent of giving your plants a multivitamin. So we're just going to add a little sprinkle of this to our soil. It doesn't take much. And it's super, super fine. So don't breathe this in if you're doing this inside the house. Okay, that's all we need. Okay, let's add our soil. Make sure our drainage hole stays covered. Okay, so I'm leaving about an inch to allow for the top dressing and for when you water. I'm going to be adding some stones in here too. I picked up these sandstones when I was down photographing last time. These are the actual types of stones that the cactus grow in, and I thought that would be cool to incorporate them into our project today. So let me go ahead and start with this bigger piece here. I thought this would be a good kind of centerpiece or focal point to have kind of in the back. And you can dig the stones down into the pot too, especially when you have a larger pot like this or a larger dish, and you've got, cactus that have itty bitty root systems. They don't need all of that extra soil, right? So if you have stones and stuff that you want to dig down in there, that'll help take up some of the room, some of the soil depth too. And that also removes excess moisture that would be held in the pot. Okay, so we're gonna build off of our main sandstone focal point, and we're gonna make a little trio of cactus right about here. Oh, and these little Echinocereus cactus, they have very shallow root systems, so you wanna plant them just like that, how they would grow in nature. They don't wanna be planted, narrow and deep. They wanna be planted shallow and wide. So you just wanna set them right down and let those roots spread out, nice and flat. They grow just below the surface. I don't know if you can see the all the white fuzzy roots. That means when you see the white fuzzy roots on your plant, that means that they're alive and they're feeding, they're drinking, and they are thriving. So that's a really good sign. Okay, let's make a little spot right here. So when you set it down, just let those roots spread out how they want to. This one is going to go right here. Look at this one, you guys. This one is going to be gorgeous to have like be as a little third centerpiece that faces forward like that. And it has a little bit of a lean too, so we're going to plant it just like that. So I'm planting these about an inch apart. I don't want to bunch them too close together because I want them to have space, but they are slow growers, so you don't have to worry about, potting them up and then having to repot them again next year or something. This can be a semi-permanent pot for them, and since they are slow growers, it's going to take a while for them to actually get too close to each other. But something to consider is when they flower, they have huge flowers on them. Like they're going to be bigger than the actual cactus body itself. So I do want to kind of allow a little bit of space for that. Who knows how that's going to work, but we'll see when that happens. Okay, I want to create like a little retaining wall. We're going to just place a rock right on the side here. So these cactus, when they're in the wild, they like to grow in rock crevices. So they're very comfortable being in confined spaces. They like their roots sort of, being hugged by rocks. So I'm going to take one other piece of sandstone and maybe put it up on this side here. Let's add a couple more smaller sandstone pieces right in the front here. I've got these two little pieces. Let's put these right here. Okay, so this is our other big cactus. We're gonna place this one right on the side here. Look at the stripes on that one. How cool is that? I think that is so neat. Okay, so do we have a front on this? Which one do we want facing forward? Maybe like right. Yeah, let's make that the front. Another element I love using in rock gardens and cactus and succulent dishes are crystals. This is a tangerine quartz. One thing to keep in mind though is if your cactus and succulent dish is going to be out in the sunlight, or even if it's inside but in a sunny window, the sun can cause colored crystals to fade, so just keep that in mind. If you have a favorite crystal, you probably don't want to put that in the pot and have it out in the sunlight fading. But this one, I don't mind. I love tangerine quartz. I've got a ton of it, and I think it's so pretty. It's got this kind of, blush tone, but there's clear crystals in here too. So if it decides to fade to mostly clear, that's perfectly fine. So I'm just gonna set this in the back here. Look at this sweet little baby. How cute is this one? Oh my gosh. I love it. And it has a natural kind of lean to it too, because that's what they do in the wild a lot. They grow just like this, and they'll be perched on rocks on this side. And they get caught in a crevice on that side of the rock, and they grow up the side of it. They look like they're sitting on top of the rock. It's so cute. So, okay, let's go ahead and get this one in, probably in the front and center here. Let's get down there a little bit more. Now we can add our top dressing, and I'm using these Yavapai chips, stone chips. I got this at Sonoran Landscape Materials Company here in Tucson, and you can just go out, fill your bucket, 5-gallon bucket like I mentioned earlier, for a couple bucks, and you have all kinds of colors to choose from. This is kind of a light, well, sort of a terracotta with a hint of rosiness to it. It's actually going to match this pot perfectly, I think. And something to consider when you're adding top dressing to any of your potted plants or rock gardens, succulent dishes, anything like this, is top dressing stone chips will hold in moisture to your soil, especially when you have, a large pot versus the little plants or the small root systems that your little cactus and succulents might have. You don't want to overwhelm them with excess moisture being held in the pot, so it's just something to consider when you are using top dressing, that it's going to make the soil retain moisture even more. Just knowing that ahead of time helps you prepare to combat the excess moisture by making sure that your soil mix is extremely aerated, fast draining. All right, well, my neighbors were so sweet. They just came by and gave us this little plant. How sweet is that? So it's a little cutting. So we got roots coming out this side too. I don't know if you guys can see that. Wow, that was so nice of them. I'm gonna have to find something to give back to them because they like plants too, so I'll figure something out for them. I was just thinking that I wanted to show you how I'm gonna be watering the cactus dish, but the thing is we just potted it up and I would never water right away. I would always wait at least, a few days to a week just to allow the roots to be able to heal any broken roots from the repotting process. And then you would go ahead and water, but I want to get this video up, so I don't want to hang on to it for another week. Maybe I should do a separate like cactus and succulent dish care video or something where I can get more in depth, but just for now, to give you an idea, I would use a pressure sprayer. So this is just a handheld pressure sprayer. So you just pump it and then you would spray. And so I would spray just over where the roots are, so just around the base of each of the cactus. I would not hold this under a faucet and soak the entire pot. That would be a sure way you'd be asking for root rot if you soaked this entire pot. The reason for that is the roots are super tiny. They're only up here at the surface. You don't need to have all that moisture in this entire pot of soil or gritty mix. And especially because this variety of cactus, the Rigidissimus Rubispinus, is so prone to root rot. And in nature, they survive on very little water. They in fact like to be dry all winter long. So since we're in the middle of winter right now, the only reason that I would water these is because we just repotted them and I want them to get established. I want their roots to kind of wake up a little and get established in their new pot. But I would let them go dry. Otherwise, if they were already established, I would just let them go dry all winter long. No water at all until springtime. So that's another factor why I don't want to actually show you watering these right now because I don't want to risk killing them. But that's the main thing when you have a big pot like this, is to just not soak the pot. You don't need to be watering the whole pot where there's not any roots going on, you know. And as far as lighting goes, this is going to be indoor, kind of like in my southwest facing window. Right now I have it on the coffee table, so it will get sunlight in the afternoon coming in and hitting the coffee table. But also this is going to be out on the patio too. It's going to be, we have a shaded patio, there's a palm tree out there, so we'll be getting morning sun out on my patio table. And then afternoon sun, it gets filtered, like mostly shade, but a little bit of filtered sun all afternoon. So only about half a day of sun for these guys. Oh, so one more thing I wanted to mention for you guys about this cactus is that they're very easy to work with. So don't let it put you off if you've had an experience with cactus that are extra spiny or if they have glaucids or something, but there's certain ones that are much more friendly to have and, you know, much more owner friendly. So these are actually super friendly. As you saw, I wasn't really wearing my gloves at all when I was working with these because they have radial spines. So they come out, they sort of blossom out from an areola or a pectinate, so a little circle. They radiate out from that and then they curve back down towards the body of the cactus itself. So it's really neat in that way because you get this beautiful effect and sort of shape of the spines. But they don't poke straight out where if you go to touch it, it's gonna, you know, stab you or something. They will poke you a little bit. If you were to drag your finger along the cactus or pull up on it with your finger on there, you could accidentally break one off in you, but they're very easy. If that does happen, they're very easy to, you know, pluck right out. The spines are the main sort of showcase of these cactus, this variety, and it's what makes them really interesting and unique. The color of the spines are determined by their genetics, the individual cactus genetics, and then also the amount of light that they're getting. And any environmental changes can affect them and create stripes too. So that's one of their unique qualities. But I also want to mention, you know, we have the greener cactus where you're able to see more of the cactus body through the spines. The spines are a little more sparse. And then we have the three that are, you know, a lot more, their spines are a lot thicker and more colorful, more stripy, but these are all the same variety of cactus. They're all the Echinocereus Rigidissimus Rubispinus. All right guys, I'm gonna let you go for now. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you do wanna see a more in-depth care video and any other tips I have, or if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to get back to you. And good luck with your cactus gardens or your succulent dishes. All right guys, thanks for watching. Have an awesome day and I will see you in the next video.